Play the clip, Jay. Play the clip. Patrick Beverly and the Minnesota Timberwolves are in the playoffs, man. What a action. I don't even know if that was warranted, but whatever, man. They earned their right. But let's talk about what we saw in the first round of the playing games, man. It was a lot to unpack. Two good games, two decent games. You could even say maybe three, and one just blowout, boring game, Jay. But let's get into these games and let's talk about the next round of these playing games. Let's go. We had four games. Two of them I found were really good. We had on Tuesday night, we had the Nets and we had the Cavs of the first game. The second game, we had a rocking game, Minnesota versus the Clippers. And then last night we had first game at Atlanta versus the Hornets. And then this last game being the Pelicans and the Spurs. So four very different games, man. So let's break it down. Before I start, Jay, how you doing?
I'm doing good, Jay. I'm doing good. I mean, right now, just this playing basketball has just been crazy. These players have been rising to the occasion. So many players also have been failing to rise to the occasion. So which we'll talk about as well. But I'm doing good, man. Like how we always say, best time of the year. Happy to be here with you. Happy to be here with the family. Getting ready to get into some of these games. Recapping, like how you said, games happen Tuesday, Wednesday, and then previewing some of these games that we got, man, because you know it's around the corner, baby. Playoffs.
Playoffs right here. So first, let's talk about that first game. But that game was incredible. Number one, I thought the Cavs were going to get blown out at certain points in that game, especially the first quarter. Looked like they had no answer for the Nets. We saw how Kyrie and KD came out. Kyrie, I don't believe, missed a shot in the first half, 9 for 9 or 7 for 7, man. He just came out how I expected him to come out. KD offensively, shooting wise, wasn't really himself to begin the game, but he was still doing it playmaking wise. But that was kind of the things I saw. And I just saw the Nets get off to a great stop. It looked like Cavaliers had no answer defensively. A lot of that had to do with Jared Allen being out to protect that paint, because it just seems like penetration. The Nets were getting whatever they wanted. But Jay, talk to me a little about what you saw in that game and kind of the adjustments. Number one, I felt like the Nets, my analysis from that game, Kyrie and KD had one of their best games of the season, and they still only won that game by 7 points to beat the Cleveland Cavaliers at home. So that's a little bit of a red flag for me. But talk to me about what you saw in that game and from both sides of the ball.
Honestly, I mean, you said it best, Jay. You said, I mean, the Nets came out just on fire, dog. And I know a lot of people talk about, Kyrie not missing a shot, KD did miss a shot, but also Patty Mills didn't miss a shot in that first quarter. Goran Dragic didn't miss a shot in that first quarter. The Nets, as a team, shot 70% from the field in that first quarter. And like how you said, they got off to a 20-point lead just in that first quarter. And one of the first things that I noticed, Jay, was I really think it was that Nets like postseason basketball that played a role that played a role here. I think the Cavs just came out extremely flat. They came out extremely flat. They came out like this was a game in the middle of January or in the middle of middle of the season that, not postseason basketball. The Nets came out big energy on both ends, man. And then the Cavs, really the exact opposite. The Nets had 70% from the field. The Cavs shot 35% from that field in that first half. And then one of the first things I noticed early in the game was that the Cavs, they were trying to play up to the Nets level of basketball, right? They were trying to play one-on-one. And the crazy thing is I was like, wait, why are you trying to do this? You don't have a KD on your team. You don't have a Kyrie on your team. You can't keep going, just keep going one-on-one. And then the Cavs also just look extremely sped up, man. I don't know how if you saw that, but to me, they just look extremely sped up, taking bad shots. The Cavs are usually a good 3-point shooting team. In that first half, they shot 21% from three, turned the ball over. And then I have to add this right here, Jay, a little bit of perspective that at least blew my mind away. Kevin Love in that first half had the best shooting percentage for the Cavs at 66%. The Nets as a team in that first half shot 60%. So that you just can't do anything about Kyrie not missing, KD not missing. But like how you said though, Jay, and I need that to be stamped and approved, and everyone needs to listen. They only won by 7 to a Jared Allen list Cavs, and KD and Kyrie had to do that. I don't know if the Celtics are gonna go for that, Jay.
Man, the thing is, that's a good point that you make, and that's why I'm also looking forward to talking about this series. But I just look at Kevin Durant, Kyrie Irving, and I know those are two players, two dogs who love and thrive in these kind of situations. You know, Kevin Love said it best. You mentioned Kevin Love, but this is his former teammate from Cleveland. You know, they won a championship together, obviously, we know. And he says, he was quoted at the end of the game. He says, I always say this about Kyrie in a March Madness one game type of situation. He's a tough guy to bet against. Again, seen this movie before, but still, I think there's just times when he comes out and plays out of his mind. And that's why he's a true future Hall of Famer. So you kind of have to just tip your hat to him. He really hit some tough contested shots today. And I mean, I was seeing it throughout the game. Kevin Love said it best. This dude just hits tough shots. Times when you think one of them, I look back to that first half when he had Lauri Markkanen there in the corner. He hit him with the jab step. Lauri Markkanen is what, 6'7" foot, 6'10", 7 foot. He still hit it in his shot, but he just finds a way in these type of games. I even look to a 7-game series. We won't make our predictions yet, but I just see if it comes down to it where they need Kyrie and KD to play this level, and you throw into the mix Bruce Brown and those guys, Seth Curry, that's why they brought him in, Andre Drummond, those guys who they had a solid game. You know, Seth Curry had it off to a slow start, but we saw Bruce Brown had an unbelievable game. But if they have 1 to 2 guys step up, and those guys, I believe that they can always consistently play at an elite level, especially with the pressure, with the bright lights of the playoffs. I think that's truly when they're at their best. And we saw that was a case in point there on Tuesday night against Cleveland. But man, I look to the other side of the ball. Let's not forget that number one, Darius Garland held his own with 34 points there and five assists. But then I also look to Evan Mobley. I know you got him as your rookie of the year. He had a solid game, scoring 19 points. And then Kevin Love, like you mentioned, 14 points, 13 rebounds, which is solid. But where they lacked and what truly hurt them was that they're missing their dude in the inside. I talked about it a little earlier, but when they had that high-low action, I just felt like whatever they wanted, you know, Brooklyn was just finding a way to get good shots, whether it was the ball movement. They had a lot of that high-low action, and it just felt like if they had a little bit of that rim protection of what Jared Allen always provides, I think they would have been in a better situation. And there's talks of him coming back for this next game against Atlanta. And if they have him, I think they have a chance, man. But I went all over with that stop. But I thought I'd add that about those two, because that really stuck out to me. They were the difference, plus Bruce Brown.
And that's huge, Jay. And that's huge. And I love the point that you bring up about the Nets. I mean, we know what KD and Kyrie are going to do. So if any other Nets players, you know, give any production, you know, man, that's just extra. I also want to throw in another Nets player, Andre Drummond, and this is also kind of sides with your point you were talking about with Jared Allen. I don't think Andre Drummond would have had a dominant game. Andre Drummond had 16 points, had a plus-minus score of 9. He grabbed eight rebounds, and I think that he was able to feast this. Like, I mean, we know Andre Drummond doesn't score anywhere outside of the paint. All his points come from the paint, and I think that it was the overbearing weight that we talked about on a prediction episode. I don't think a lot of the times Mobley couldn't hold them. A lot of the times Lauri Markkanen couldn't hold them. But also a lot of times just we saw they were getting backdoor cut because the defensive anchor just wasn't there, man. And we just saw, to be real, and even though I got Mobley as my rookie of the year, his inexperiences just getting exposed out there, man. But I mean, overall, Jay, it was a good game. definitely wanted to see Jared Allen out there. I want to see the Cavs at their full roster. I mean, their full health and full roster. But I mean, Darius Garland tried to do his thing, but it's like it's so you just can't do anything about Kyrie not missing. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Nah.
like you could play defense, but that's just a better shot.
Yeah. Good, great offense beats great defense. That's just ultimately what it comes down to. And they had a lot of times in these one-off situations in the playoffs. That's why specifically you mentioned the Celtics, but if playoffs come, that floor shrinks, everything gets tighter. Guys who are usually make shots throughout the regular season, they're missing those shots. Players get tight. And when the light comes on, that's why it's hard for me to go against easy money Sniper and Kyrie, because they just do this. This is where they make their bread at. This is what they thrive on. Like I've been saying, that whole situation, case in point, Tuesday night. So we're going to see what they got for Boston. I'm just going to say Robert Williams
might come back.
It's going to be tough. Boston's going to be favored, but we'll talk about it.
Family, man. Make sure you stay tuned because we do got a playoff episode coming up soon, man.
Yeah, absolutely. Jay, let's get into the next game, though. We talked about LA Clippers and the Minnesota Timberwolves in Minnesota.
What a game.
We saw what this game meant to a lot of players. 109 victory for 104 for the LA Clippers. Minnesota came out on top. 8 lead changes in this game. Game was tied 9 times. Back and forth game. Gritty, fouls, people talking some mess, protesters protesting. A woman glued herself to the floor. We don't want to get political, but I advise all the family, everyone listening, to find out, really do your research about that topic and why that woman did that protest, because I actually went back and did some research and found out it was a very interesting topic, very interesting protest, and maybe some truth to it. I don't know. I'm not going to, like I said, I'm not going to get political on here. We're not going to talk about that, but I advise everyone listening to do their own research on that. But yeah, let's talk about the game, man. We won't get into that. So like I said, Jay, you give me your thoughts on this. Just right off the bat, man. This was a lot to unpack here.
Man, right off the bat, Jay, Clippers came out blazing, came out on fire. Ty Lue and his experience, that's exactly what we talked about when we were previewing this game. That really showed. Ty Lue started out with Nicholas Batum, and you called it, Jay. I remember watching the game. You said Nicholas Batum, I guard Cat, and I remember telling you like, oh no, that's gonna be easy money for Cat. But no, Nicholas Batum was guarding him, and then Zubac would come for the double every single time. And man, did that work? And to say that Karl-Anthony Towns struggled in that first would be like a compliment, man. He played horrendous, 0 points, 2 fouls. He also played right into the Clippers' hands. If you look at it, he was being extremely soft. Like I was talking to Junior, and me and Junior compared it to AD. Right, he was doing the AD. I got a smaller player on me, yet I'm a shoot a 3. I got a smaller player on me, yet I'm gonna try to be in the wing. Just being soft, not taking advantage of the mismatched lineups. But also the Wolves, like inexperience, like really showed, and not just on the players as well. As far as on Chris Finch, the coach, I mean, we saw Karl-Anthony Towns, Anthony Edwards, and Patrick Beverley all get in early foul trouble, yet none of them got taken out, and ultimately led to Karl-Anthony Towns. He didn't have the best game, but he's still, in my opinion, he's still the best player on that team. And your best player, you have to protect him, man. You gotta take him out, and you gotta take him out as a coach, because you want to prevent him fouling out. And he didn't do that, man. So all 3 of those guys got in early foul trouble, and the Clippers seemed to be rolling in that first quarter. And then that's when the whole glue situation came out, and that really seemed to kill all the Clippers' momentum. Like immediately after that, man, the second quarter, D'Lo saved the Wolves by having a 14-point second quarter, not missing a single shot. And then I also think it's impressive because he did this while Ant, Cat, and Patrick Beverley were on the bench, man. So he was the focal point of that defense. Didn't matter though. One of those things again, Jay. Good defense, better shot making, man. And then that third quarter came, man. And that's when I thought it was, I'm not gonna lie, that's when I thought it was over for the Wolves, Jay, because PG exploded for a 17-point third quarter. And that's when I was like, oh yeah, this is when the veteran presence of the Clippers is gonna take over. And this game is just the Clippers are gonna put them out. Instead, Jay, what it was that Wolves defense, man, allowing 20 points in that fourth quarter. Karl-Anthony Towns fouled out, Jay, with 7 minutes left. 7 minutes left. Yet the Wolves go on a 21-7 run. It was genuinely impressive. All hats off to Anthony Edwards. All hats off to D'Lo. I think Anthony Edwards just stamped himself. Anybody that was hating on him, anybody that didn't believe in him, he just stamped himself as legit, Jay. But what are some things that you saw in there? If you got anything to add there?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, I don't know if you can run the clip, Jay. Run the clip of Anthony Edwards, Patrick Beverley, and specifically just celebrating this game, celebrating this win. Like, all jokes aside, man, I know it was funny. Like, we saw an NBA TNT playing that clip of like, we are the champions, with them celebrating on the floor. But hey, man, it is what it is. Like, this game meant a lot to not only Patrick Beverley, who's the emotional leader, verbal leader of that team. And I mentioned all along that was going to be a huge component of how successful they are, because it rubs off on the rest of the team. And that's exactly what we saw. We saw their best player, Karl-Anthony Towns, like you mentioned, get in foul trouble, almost non-existent, just completely taken out of this game. And other guys needed to step up. That's what happens on good teams. It's a team. Basketball is a team game. It's a team sport. So your star guy is out. He's completely neutralized, taken out of the game, whether it be because of himself. I agree with that. He took himself out. He played right into their hands. Maybe it might have been into more of a distributing role. We saw a lot of times offensively, he was forcing things. He started pressing early on once he knew he got off to a slow start, settling, taking bad shots. But that's where your guys need to step up. And that's exactly what Anthony Edwards, D'Angelo Russell, and a guy that I have to add this, Jay, I'll give you your credit, a guy you said who would be the X factor, and that's Malik Beasley, hitting timely threes. There was a time when the Clippers would make their run. I think at the end of the first half, he hit a huge three. And in the first quarter, we saw that Jaden McDaniels hit a big three. But guys have to step up. Role players have to step up. And that's exactly what happens at home. A lot of times we see in the playoffs. Players on a road, role players might slow down. They might not hit the same shots, but at home, that's what they do. And that's exactly what the Timberwolves were able to do. Even look at what Chris Finch said. Recently just got an extension, I believe, that day. And he said the game had to go in a different direction. That's why you have a team, because other people have to step up. And that's exactly what Minnesota did, man. Anthony Edwards, 30 points, 5 3-pointers. D'Angelo Russell, 29 points, 6 assists. Just huge games when they needed the guys to step up. And you saw what D'Angelo Russell said, just utilizing what we have. We got pieces, they complement each other. And it's clear that the Timberwolves are a team who's going to be a tough out. Definitely not going to say that they're going to win it now, going up against a tough Memphis team. But they certainly proved a lot. They showed a lot of toughness and grit. And like you mentioned, when Paul George went on that run in the third quarter, I said, count him. Let's pack up.
And go home.
Let's go back. Let's go back home. Get ready to travel to Memphis Clippers, because I thought that thing was over, man. We saw Norman Powell come off the bench doing what he does. I talked about him earlier on Monday. That thought he would have a big game. He did it in stretches. We saw Reggie Jackson doing it in stretches as well. But the Clippers were never really able to create that separation. And huge part of that was because whenever they would make their run, Timberwolves would come up with some big plays from their role players, and other guys would step up, whether it was Anthony Edwards or D'Lo or just the rest of the crew. They were able to keep it close. And then in that fourth quarter, they just took over. Anthony Edwards took over and D'Lo took over.
Absolutely, Jay. And then I also want to ask you another thing, Jay, because I mean, I've throughout the NBA community, we've just seen a lot of both sides of it. But how are you feeling? I know you started off the recap by talking about the celebration. How do you feel about the celebration? Do you think it was a bit much, or do you think are you cool with it? Are you not tripping?
I mean, man, you it was a little much, but at the same time, I loved how in the press conference and after, Patrick Beverly really owned what he did, He said, yeah, man, this game meant a lot to me. You know, the Clippers, we heard Reggie Miller and Kevin Harlan talking about they didn't give him the offer, they didn't pay him the money that he thought he deserved, and he took that as personally, man. And I can't fault the dude for that. And I love how he owned up to what he did and how much the other guys played with a chip on his shoulder because they supported their teammate and they knew there was no way we're losing this game at home, despite our star fouling out, being non-existent, Cat just having a terrible game. Other guys had to step up, and that's what they did. So I can't. Maybe it was a little much, but I love how they backed up and owned the fact that they celebrated and it meant a lot to them. Man, they're in the playoffs and they're going on the road and they earned that time to celebrate. I can't lie. They're a young team too.
Yeah.
But how would you feel? Like, what do you feel?
Yeah, I mean, at first, I definitely was like, "Whoa, he's like stepping up on on that thing." Like he won a champ. Like I remember the last time. Right. The last time I remember somebody stepping up on there was I think like 2010 when Kobe won the championship. It was like
I remember that. So
I just think I like and I mean I just think it might have been a bit much, but on Patrick Beverly's side of things, man, I get it. You know what I'm saying? Like you constantly been battling this reputation and this persona in the league that really like kind of Russell Westbrook kind of put on him by saying he kind of just runs around and now he's out here and he had a great game, man. He had a great game. He was a huge contributor. I know it could be annoying, but it's like if you're a Wolves fan, you gotta love that guy, man. You gotta love that guy. His energy is just contagious. The end of that game where he rips Reggie Jackson right in front of the Clippers bench, which really puts the game out. Like that was if the Clippers would have scored, they the game would have kept going on. But man, like that really puts the game out, and that was like the nail in the coffin. So for Patrick Beverly, I'm happy for him and everything. The only thing that I think was a bit much is like my guy was talking about like, oh yeah, like I was like thinking this through the night before. I was like, well, I mean, I think that's like, just focus on the game. Whatever comes after, man. But shout out the Wolves, man. They definitely got it done. But like how you said, it's gonna be a tough challenge for them going against the gritty Memphis Grizzlies, man. Because Ja's ready for that. Because Ja's not Reggie Jackson.
Nah. He's ready for it. But we know we're gonna be stay tuned to that matchup because it's gonna be great. Two young teams, two athletic teams. I'm expecting some fireworks from that one.
It's gonna be crazy, Jay.
Jay, let's keep it pushing to the next day. Have some games in that one. Let's talk about the blowout.
Man,
from a team, the Charlotte Hornets, team 2 years in a row who's gotten blown out in this 9-10 matchup. And it's frustrating. It's frustrating as a team who I know in there we saw Miles Bridges clearly frustrated, and it's a team who's had two bad exits. I know Gordon Hayward was missing in this game, but it's a bad look to go out 2 years in a row just getting absolutely embarrassed, played off the floor, exploited, just crapped on. To be honest. We saw just Trae Young just picking him apart on the pick and roll, getting whatever he wants, getting Miles Plumlee on an island and going to work. We saw the role players stepping up, multiple guys in double figures. Kevin Huerter, who I had called out, made shots time after time. Clint Capella, who I knew from the Charlotte standpoint, they couldn't let him get going. Because they didn't have John Collins, they couldn't let the other guys get going. Kevin Huerter, Clint Capella, guy you talked about as the X factor, DeAndre Hunter having 22 points in this game and exactly he was the X factor in this game. And then Danilo Gallinari as well. So all these guys and plus in the plus and the plus minus. I mean, Clint Capella 28 plus minus, absolutely effective, affecting the games in more ways than one, whether it be defensively, rebounding. So just a big game from the guys that needed to step up, particularly their top six: DeAndre Hunter, Danilo Gallinari, Clint Capella, Kevin Huerter, Trae Young, and Bogdan Bogdanovic. But Jay, let me get you. I know I talked a little bit about the Hawks side of things. Talk to me about what you saw that didn't work for the Hornets and just a bad performance on the road.
Just a terrible performance, Jay. And I need to double up and double back on what you said about that pick and roll, right? I mean, I don't think that it's rocket science. I think that any fan that really watches a lot of the NBA knows that the Hawks are a heavy pick and roll team. They start almost every single offensive set with the high pick and roll. So as the Hornets, you have to know tendencies. You got to watch film and you got to make those adjustments. It was all game. At first, I know I was taking notes throughout the game, and I had in my notes, Hornets played bad defense. Hornets had bad pick and roll defense first half. But at the end of the game, I had to go back and delete that first half and say all game. They didn't make any adjustments, Jay. They played terrible pick and roll defense the entire game. The Hornets also just didn't feel like they had that flash. They had that fun. I mean, like every time I watched the Hornets, that's why they were the past 2 years. They've been one of my league pass teams, man. They're just so fun out there, throwing lobs, having fun, smiling, that flash to them. But I just didn't feel like it was there. And again, like it felt super, super similar to the Indiana game last year, Jay. And honestly, it just makes me think like, are there going to be some changes? I don't know. And that's something for us to get into, more come off season, but like, is there going to be some coaches changes? Is there going to be some roster changes? There has to be something, dog, because this isn't working. Like this just isn't working. I don't think that you can continuously now blame the inexperience, because they got a lot of experience last year, and then for them to come out and do the exact same thing, it's flat out embarrassing, like how you said, Jay. And then I have to come out here, Jay. Miles Bridges, owned up to what happened. He got angry through the mouthpiece, ended up hitting the girl. And I need to own up to something that happened too, man, Jay, because I disrespected the Hawks. I disrespected the Hawks. And in the preview, I said, if Trae Young doesn't get it done, the Hawks can't get it done. And boy, was I wrong, Jay. I mean, I'm not even going to listen. You listed it all. You said, Kevin Huerter, Danilo, Klink, Bogdanovic. They got it done. And Trae Young was that facilitator. That's exactly what I feared. I feared, wow, if Trae Young doesn't score, like how are they going to do this? But like how you said, Jay, all five starters in double figures. The Hornets just couldn't do anything about it, man. And then come that third quarter, Trae Young just exploded for his 14 points. DeAndre Hunter exploded for the 16, and that was game. That was game. The Hornets seemed out of energy. The energy was took out of the building. I think it was probably because they had to walk to the arena, Jay. I think that's what did it to them.
Yeah. No, I was surprised that the Hornets almost came out just disinterested in the game. Mm-hmm. I mean, maybe like you mentioned, it was the train that stopped in front of their bus. I don't know, but it just seemed like they came out disinterested in a must-win, winner go home game, which was just inexcusable. From the tip, it just looks like they were steps slow. They looked lethargic. Guys weren't being aggressive. Kelly Oubre with five field goal attempts. Just disinterested, just all around bad performance. Trae Young, beginning of the game, we've seen in the previous matchups with Charlotte, they know how to guard Trae Young, and they were doubling him like we expected at the beginning. Anytime they had an opportunity, Young only made one of 9 shots in the opening quarter, and 3 for 13 in the first half. But other guys stepped up, and that's what I thought was going to happen, especially on the road at home. And Jay, and it's funny that you say like you doubt the Hawks, and I never really could, because when I looked at this matchup, this is a team that throughout the season, and it's not that surprising you doubted them. This is a team who hasn't looked like a team who was in the Eastern Conference runner-up last season, and so it's right. It's everyone's right in their own right to doubt the Hawks and what we're going to see from them. But guys stepped up at home. They look like a team who's been there and done that. And the Hornets just look like a team who hasn't been there, hasn't done that, immature, letting the fans, letting things that they can't control get to them. And that's a sign of an inexperienced team. And I think that really came back to bite them. And they looked from the start, almost from the jump, like they had no reason, no right to be on the floor with the Atlanta Hawks. They just looked like a class above them. And that was really the story of the game, man. Not really much else to say
Agreed.
on this front. That was really it. If you got anything else to add, let's jump into the next game. It was a little bit of a better game, in my opinion, man. Just bad from the Hornets, man. They need to do some soul searching. I don't know what they need. They need to talk it over in the off season. See what they can do to regroup.
Absolutely.
But next game, New Orleans Pelicans versus the San Antonio Spurs. Greg Popovich, Willie Green. The Pelicans coming away with the 113-103 victory versus the Spurs at home. 2 lead changes, tied 2 times. So not pretty, almost looked like they were in control. The Pelicans most of the game, but Jay, talk to me about what you saw in this one, man.
Yeah, Jay. So, I mean, in this one, I noticed the Spurs kind of came out kind of flat. DeJounte Murray and Jakob Poeltl really got into early foul trouble. And unlike Chris Finch, Greg Popovich knows how to coach. So he took him out. The only thing about that is you mentioned it, Jay, on the preview. You said if DeJounte Murray is in there, if he's not in there, it's going to be very hard for them to find really any offense, for them to really get anything going. And that's exactly what happened, man. They found themselves in a quick hole by DeJounte Murray not being out there. And Brandon Ingram made sure he took advantage of that, man. He scored the Pelicans' first 11 of 15 points. And to be real with you, Jay, like how you said, it's only really 2 lead changes. This game was just as we predicted. Like the offensive firepower of CJ and Brandon Ingram was just simply too much for the Spurs. Like the Spurs even, played good half-court defense. They did what the Spurs did, but they just couldn't score enough. Like there's defense wins championships, yes, all that, but you got to put the ball in the basket. Like that's at the end of the day, like that's how you score. That's how you put points on the board. And they just didn't have enough players to be able to go at CJ and go at Brandon Ingram. And then also, when you take into account that the Pelicans also got big contributions from other players, man. I mean, Jonas Valanciunas scored 22 points, 14 rebounds, was just killing the Spurs in the paint, man. He scored 22 points, and the Pelicans scored 56 points in the paint, man. So, the majority of that came from Jonas Valanciunas, as he only hit 1 3 from the outside. Herbert Jones, man, Jay, we've been raving about him all year, man. The man was out there as a rookie with 12 points, 5 rebounds, 3 assists, 2 blocks, 2 steals. But what I want to give him credit for is just being a defensive menace, man, just bothering everything out there. He's long, he's lengthy. People need to get used to his name, because he is gonna. He's going to be around the league for a very, very long time, man. And then the Pelicans, like how you mentioned, Jay, had control of the game the entire game, except come that fourth quarter, they had a little bit of a collapse. The Spurs bought it within 7, but to double back and not to sound like a broken track record, as soon as that happened, what the Pelicans did. CJ, go ahead. Brandon Ingram, go ahead. And that's it. The Spurs couldn't keep up with it, Jay. Surprisingly, this was a way better game than that Hawks game. I know we said this is going to be the most boring game, but I had way more fun watching this than watching that Hawks game, Jay. But honestly, shout out Greg Popovich. I think it's going to be his last year, right? The man's 73. I know in the post game interview, somebody asked him, "Is this your last year?" He said that's inappropriate. Now, I like that. He's like, let's focus on the game. Let's talk about what the Spurs did. Let's not take away from that. But if it is his last game, man, big salute, big shout out to Greg Popovich. 26 years, got to be arguably one of the greatest coaches of all time, Jay.
Greatest in my opinion. Yeah, great shout out and great summary of that game, man. It was a closer game than expected, like you said. And what stuck out to me was CJ McCollum, man. He set the tone early, 27 of his 32 points in that first quarter. And then those young guys, the inexperienced guys of the Pelicans followed suit. They were able to set the tone early and say, we're here to play, we're here to stay, we're here to move on to the second round of the playing games. And that's exactly what they did. You mentioned Jonas Valanciunas, Ingram with 27 points. They had their stars. They needed them to deliver, and that's exactly what they did. And the Spurs just lacked the tools, lacked the weapons to stay with them. Devin Vassell, I'll give him a shout out. They traded away Derek Wright to give him more of an opportunity to shine in that second in that shooting guard role, and that's exactly what he did. He had a big game and ultimately kept them in the game. But where I thought that they struggled, and that was DeJounte Murray, man. He's a great player. Jay, we know, if you haven't heard me enough, I always rave about DeJounte Murray. I think he's a great player. I think he's going to consistently develop. But 5 for 19 from your star player, your all-star, I knew that he had to have a big game. And 26% from the field really is not going to get it down. His biggest weakness was exploited, man. His shooting. We know he can get down to the rim. We know he can get to the rim whenever he wants. He can get really any shot, but we saw that the drop coverage that they were using on him, they were forcing him. They knew that Valanciunas wasn't going to switch out to him. We knew that their bigs weren't going to be able to stay with him, and they were saying, "Hey, you take that jumper, you make it consistently, and then we'll adjust." And we saw that DeJounte Murray wasn't able to have the game that he needed to have in order for them to move on to the next round, and the Spurs really couldn't overcome that. From that point on, we saw him missing layups that he usually makes because I think he was pressing so hard from not hitting those shots, and that was too much ultimately for him to overcome. And then another guy that they rely on offensively, Keldon Johnson, 6 from 20, 30% from the field, a guy who's been inconsistent through the whole season. Honestly, throughout his career, we've seen him have big stretches throughout seasons and stuff, and he had a poor game last night, and you just can't. It's tough to overcome that. Just all around, if you're the Spurs, especially on the road, lacking bodies, lacking guys you need. So tough loss for them. We'll see. Hopefully, Pop comes back for a year. A team who averages one of the youngest teams in the league, 25 years, but man, let's keep it pushing. Let's move on to the next game. Let's talk about Friday. Let's talk about tomorrow, or when people are listening to this, it'll be today, later tonight, and that's the matchups we got. So first game, let's talk a little bit about that. Atlanta Hawks in Cleveland against the Cavaliers, 7:30 p.m. Eastern start time, 4:30 Pacific. Jay, what do you expect in this game? Who you got? Talk to me about this matchup, bro.
All right, Jay. I know. I've constantly been doubting the Hawks, and I've been getting proved wrong. I mean, I doubted them last year against the Philly. I doubted them just recently.
What?
I doubted them just recently. But look, Jay,
you're gonna say what I think you're gonna say.
But look, Jay, I as crazy as it might sound, Jay, look.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna triple up. I'm doubting them again, Jay. I'm doubting them again. But listen. I got the Cavs. If Jared Allen plays, if Jared Allen plays, which I think he will, right? Because in my opinion, why else do you choose not to get to surgery, right? He wanted to get the surgery so he could play, he could return if even possible. So if Jared Allen plays, I mean, I would like to favor the Cavs, and these are my reasons, right? When we seen the Cavs at a fully healthy roster, when we see them have Jared Allen, they were a top 6 seed, like really all season, and we were extremely surprised. You mentioned you always raved about them, and so many of the recaps throughout the season talked about how good they were, and the Hawks. I mean, they kind of. Yes, they dealt with a lot of injuries, but they were ball season on the bottom half of the East standings, and then also let's kind of get into the last night's game, like Danilo Gallinari. He had 18 points. Kevin Huerter exploded for 16 points in one quarter. We know the inconsistency of Bogdanovic, right? So I just don't know how much I can trust that against if Jared Allen plays, of course. I don't know how much I can trust that against a Jared Allen Cavs team. Also, I think that the Cavs are all. What's up, Jay? What's up? Talk to me.
Nah, Jay.
I know you're not feeling.
We get. No. I'm hearing you. But I hear it. If we on the fence here. We on the fence. We need you to hop up. So which yard you going in? You going in? So I wanted Jared Allen, no Jared Allen. You got the Cavs, or only with Jared Allen you got the Cavs, like regardless.
Man, you know what, Jay? I'm gonna stay strong to what I got, man. I'm gonna go Cavs regardless,
okay.
man.
Okay.
I'm gonna go Cavs.
I need you to go hop out that fence.
Okay. I agree. So look, another thing. I think the Cavs are an extremely switchable team, man. I mean, we just talked about earlier with the Hawks. They love that pick and roll. I think that the Cavs have a lot of the expendable bigs who can keep up with a lot of these guards out there in the perimeter. So I think that's definitely a favor for the Cavs. I also think that the Cavs' length, we've talked about it all season. I think that's going to keep a lot of those lob passes that the Hawks love to throw. I think it's going to keep a lot of that out of the paint. The Cavs also have a lot of bigger bodies to throw at Trae Young. Trae Young is that guy, yes, but at the end of the day, he's like 6'1", 6'2", right? The Cavs have Isaac Okoro, Darius Garland, Rondo, Lamar Stevens, all these players too. And I'm not saying these guys are going to stop Trae Young. I'm not saying like one-on-one, but you consistently all game throw bodies, throw different looks at him, get him tired, make him work. I was listening to Luka a couple months ago. Luka talking about what he does against smaller guards is, man, he knows he's big. He puts him in a post, and the Ja Morant, the Currys, he's like, I know they're offensively great, but what I need to do is I need to make them work on the other end so they're more tired. And that's what I think these guys are going to have to do. I know Garland's about like same size as Trae Young, but Isaac Okoro, a good amount bigger, good amount stronger. Lamar Stevens as well. Rondo, we know what Rondo do. He's that solid point guard. And I just think that the Cavs are going to really have to make Trae get tired, make him work. And the X factor for me, Jay, it's got to be Jared Allen playing. If he plays, it's it. But if I'm not gonna ride the fence, Jay, because I agree, I gotta ride the fence. If I'm not gonna ride the fence, the X factor for the Cavs has got to be there. It's got to be the defense, man. They have to really throw different looks, throw different bodies at Trae Young, and just try to get him tired out, Jay. But I know you're not feeling this take, so talk to me, Jay, about how you're feeling about this game.
I love the confidence you had in the Cavs and the things you talked about. I agree that they're gonna throw a lot of different looks at Trae Young. The Cavs have a lot of weapons, but I truly think Cavs had a great season. I loved what the Cavs did and everything, but it's gonna end tomorrow night, unfortunately, because the Atlanta Hawks are winning this game, and let me tell you why. Number one, Jared Allen, great player. He's a huge part of what the Cavs do, and that's why they've been struggling without him. But it's just too much. It's a lot to ask of a player who hasn't played in weeks and weeks to come out and play to the best of his ability, especially with the injured finger, and how he has a defensive prowess. And then I just look to, yes, they have switching, they have capabilities, but I just see a lot of areas that 1 through 5 that the Hawks can exploit those guys just defensively. We saw what Brooklyn did to them, just getting pretty much whatever they wanted. albeit they got Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving. Those guys are going to hit shots. Doesn't matter what defense you got. But they got sharp shot makers as well. Trae Young, shot maker. Kevin Huerter, streaky, but a shot maker. DeAndre Hunter, shot maker. Danilo Gallinari, shot maker of all shot makers. This dude can go in slow motion and get to his spots whenever he wants. And I just think all of those things, the experience piece, I'm gonna say again, I said it with Clippers. They didn't end up getting the win in Minnesota, but this is a team who's been to the Eastern Conference Finals. They know when Trae Young is doubled, when they throw different looks, they know, coming in, if you're Kevin Huerter, if you're DeAndre Hunter, if you're Danilo Gallinari, Bogdanovich, if you're those guys, you're going to have open looks. You're coming in, you're visualizing that stuff before the game. You've been to the Eastern Conference Finals. You lost to the NBA champions last year. You got all that confidence. You're rolling in momentum. And I think that all that mentality that they got coming into that game, it's going to be too much for the Cavs to overcome. And I just think going into this game, the way that they playing throughout, despite a great effort, I will say, in Brooklyn, there was times where I thought they were going to lose that game by 30, but they stayed in that game despite that. But I just know when it comes down to it, Trae Young, the Atlanta Hawks are going to come into Cleveland, beat them, and then they're going on the road to Miami, and they're playing that 1 seed.
Man. All right, Jay. Look, Jay, you have been right every time about the Hawks. Okay, so I will not be wrong. I will not be shook if you're right again. Every single time you've called these Hawks games, you've got them right, Jay. I think you're 4 for 4 now. So hey, let's see, man. Let's see, Jay.
Yeah, let's see. Let's really. I'm interested to see how they come. I do think it's going to be a closer game. I do think both teams have a lot to play for. Young teams who want to stay relevant, who want to have the opportunity to go up against the Heat. And ultimately, I can see the Hawks, they win this game, given the Miami Heat run for their money. And you throw into the mix, you might get John Collins. There's talks of him coming back. I don't know how true that is, but you throw John Collins in his mix, even if he plays against Cleveland. I don't see that happening, but that's just another weapon at the disposal of Trae Young, who can get it done whether he's on or off shooting. So that's a scary sight for any defense, for any team, man. But if you don't have anything else to add,
I ain't got nothing else.
Let's shift to the West. A great matchup. The LA Clippers in LA tomorrow night against the New Orleans Pelicans. 10 p.m. TNT prime time, 7 p.m. Pacific. What you got in this one? Paul George at home, CJ McCollum at the road. He knows the Clippers pretty well. He's in Western Conference foes. They were in the same division last year. So what you got in there, man?
Man, Jay, I got the Clippers, Jay. I think the Clippers they have more experience. They have the better coach. Man, I just got to gain so much respect for Ty Lue. I've been gaining so much respect for Ty Lue since he's kind of like left the whole LeBron thing. Because I'm not gonna lie, I definitely was a big fan of. I was a big thought of like, okay, I think that a coach can do so much, but if you have LeBron, you have Kobe, you have Curry, you have these great players, it's a little easier. But man, Ty Lue's really been proven that he's a great coach. But more than anything, Jay, they actually got somebody that can go toe to toe with CJ and that's in Paul George. I mean, the Spurs just simply didn't have that. And as much as Reggie Jackson underperformed in that last game, that Wolves game, he led the Clippers in scoring this year. He also led the Clippers in assists. I had him on my fantasy, so I know he's a scorer. He could be the Robin to Paul George, the same way that Brandon Ingram is to CJ. So as far as offensive firepower, the Clippers have that the same as the Pelicans, if not even more. The Clippers have, like how you mentioned, more experience, better coaching, and then also, Jay, as much as I like my boy Herbert Jones, as much as I like Jonas Valanciunas, I don't know if I can expect them to consistently have a game like how they just had, man, especially against a well-coached Clippers team, Jay. So I don't think this one is going to be I don't think this one's going to be too close. I think the Clippers are gonna handle this game. My X factor is Paul George and Reggie Jackson. Just they have to be there, man. They have to produce the scoring because we seen CJ headhunting this last game against the Spurs. We seen CJ be that offensive killer, and I think that if the Clippers don't bring that, then they're going to be in trouble. So I think that X factor, it's got to be Paul George. He's got to have 17-point explosion point quarters, right? Like how he had in the last game. And the Clippers just really need to just stay the course, man. I think they're already a better team, already got more experience. So I think the Clippers are going to end up taking this one and moving on here to secure that spot in the playoffs.
Man, that's a good analysis of that. And let me just talk about the Pelicans, a team who started off slow. I remember way back, you asked me if I thought they were going to make the play-in or make the playoffs. And I said, no, hell no, no way. No way they're going to. And they clawed back. They have that grit. They got CJ. And a reason I will add why I love the playing game and although some games have been bad, particularly that Atlanta Charlotte game. But I love the fact that you look back probably maybe even 2 years ago when they didn't have the play-in game and when they were 6 games back, I believe, of that last play-in spot. We don't even know if they make that deal for CJ McCollum because you knew that deal was to compete to get into the play-in game and not to tank. So I love that the integration of the play-in game for that reason, it avoids the tanking and everything. But all that being said, New Orleans Pelicans had a great season, but unfortunately, that's ending tonight
to go.
Because the LA Clippers, like you mentioned, experience, Paul George, been there, done that, Ty Lue, NBA title, Reggie Jackson, Marcus Morris, Norman Powell also won a title, Robert Covington, guys who have been there, done that. And I think guys like Herbert Jones, Jose Alvarado, who I'll say a great role player. I mean, I love that dude. Brooklyn. I mean, I just love I love seeing those small dudes, the small good guys who are counted out, just thrive and succeed. New Orleans Pelicans had a great season, but it's ending. I don't expect this one to be too close. I wouldn't be surprised if we saw a blowout here in LA because there's no way Paul George, Ty Lue, Reggie Jackson, the rest of these veteran crew are going to lose this game and get eliminated and not even being able to play the Phoenix Suns, which I still even think will be a great, interesting matchup if the Clippers are able to pull this one out. But not much to add. You did a great summary and analysis of what we can see and expect tonight in that game.
Man, Jay. Hey, so look, Jay, after these games on Friday, the playoffs is going to be fully set, Jay. Playoffs is going to be fully set. And this is it. Best time of this year is about to roll around. I'm so damn excited, Jay, for the family out there, man. I hope you guys are just excited as me and Jay. I mean, me and Jay are always talking on camera, off camera about, man, it's playoffs, because that's exactly what it is, man. It's the best time of the year, Jay. So, look, man, this play-in tournament has been fun. It's been very exciting. A lot of players stepped up to the task. A lot of players shined down, but you know what, Jay? That's how it is. You know, sometimes the bright stars brings the best out of some people, and some people shy away from it, Jay. But I just want to see the real bright stars. I want to see the NBA Finals, man.
Yes, sir. And speaking of NBA Finals, we'd be talking about that and previewing, like you mentioned, on Saturday. We got a little preview, quick preview to get you ready, get everyone ready for the first round and what we can expect in the first round series. I'm excited to see what happens. You know, I'm pulling for the Dubs, but I think I'm just excited for playoff basketball in general, man. To have it back, every possession matters, brings the best out and the worst out in some players. Unfortunately, they crack under pressure, but let's see what we got. Let's see what happens tonight in this playing game, and then we got a preview for y'all tomorrow morning, to talk about, get these games set off.
Yes, sir,
Oh, yeah,
man. Yes, sir, man. So look, man, all the family out there, hey, we thank you guys for tuning in for this whole episode, man. We got, like I said, a lot coming. So stay tuned. Don't forget to follow us on our Instagram, TikTok, our Twitter. It's at Clutch Talk Pod. So get at us on there, man. It's popping off over there right now, man. So make sure you head over there and come mess with us, man. But if that's it, man, then we out of here, y'all. Clutch Talk out.
Peace.